Moving on to high school.
That's what he says.
He's with the Avengers over in Gilbert, Arizona.
Phoenix metro area.
And this will, he's talking on his T-Series. This is probably like the advanced mode. He's run it now for 4 years?
Since 2001.
Yeah, so he's run it now for 7 years. And let's hear it for Keith.
Please. Please. All right, as Coach said, my name's Keith James. I'm head coach of the Avengers from Gilbert Pop Warner in Gilbert, Arizona. I want to thank Bruce for the opportunity to come and share with a little bit I know about the single wing with you gentlemen. And for Coach here, you're definitely in the right place. I envy you the opportunity to start with the young guys and run them through as they go from mighty mite to all the way up to midget. So you're going to have good fun with it. First, a little bit about me. From 1987 to 2006, I was a high school sprint coach at Washington High School in Phoenix, Arizona. Started assisting Pop Warner team on the West Valley in '88. Moved to Gilbert, started coaching in 1998. Had 3 rather miserable seasons. Installed the single wing in 2001. Never looked back. Found the T-Series. Really liked it. About my 3rd year running the T-Series, I actually learned the name and found the Delphi forums, and some of these other wonderful gentlemen who were here shared their information with me and some of the guys back on the East Coast as well. So I owe a lot of thanks to a lot of coaches who are definitely smarter than I am about this thing. What is Avenger football? And I doubt that I'm going to say anything any different than most single wing coaches say. You know, at the beginning of the year we have our parent meeting when I let them know that I am kind of contrarian and I do things differently than what you may have seen from any teams your sons have played on in the past. But we're aggressive, both sides of the ball. We're attacking on defense. We're definitely, you can't run a single wing and not be attacking on offense. We're hard hitting. Coach was talking about the number of drills that you run. Just as a little backup to that, this last season, I ran a full defensive scrimmage once, and we allowed 46 points all year. So defensive play, to go off topic for a second, defensive, especially game time situation type drills are a great tool for youth football. And it's fun to watch. Single wing, if you run a single wing, that just goes with the territory, because the most enjoyable thing for the kids is when, you know, this back is simulating his handoff and he's getting tackled, meanwhile the ball is 30 yards up the field and going into the end zone. The kids really, once you get the emotions down, the kids really buy into it, and then the parents are on the sideline having just a blast watching the boys enjoy some personal success. Okay, that's me. Enough about me. Let's talk some X's and O's here. Let's talk about our alignment. In years past, up until this last season, we'd gone with a traditional, I guess you'd say, foot-to-foot alignment with our interior offensive lineman here. Just to give you our formation, we've got our tight end, weak guard, center obviously, strong guard, inside tackle, power tackle. We go with a 2 to 4 yard nasty split between our X and the power tackle. The 4-back is 1 and 1 back from the power tackle, and we can go anywhere from a 6-inch to a yard split on the Y. And of course that just depends on, you know, where we're running the ball, what the defensive end is doing, things like that. And a lot of times, you know, it's the defensive ends, at least in the youth level, they're not necessarily picking up what's going on here. You know, you can creep that kid out further and take advantage of it when you want to get a sweep, and eventually he might step inside, you can crack down on him and get your sweep going very successfully that way. Our mesh point is directly behind the 2 back here. That's a good place for us to conceal the ball. This is our south formation. We flip the line, but we do not flip our line calls, our holes. So everything over here on the right side of the center is an even hole. Everything over here is an odd hole. With regards to the, how we call our plays, again, something that the more experienced gentlemen will find familiar. First thing we're calling is our formation. We've got this 3-digit sequence here. It's our first number is who gets the ball, second, who's carrying the ball, third is which hole is he hitting. From there, we're running our what type of play, and then if we're running with the jet motion, if any. Those of you who've seen me give this presentation before, in years past, I hadn't called out the jet motion from our T series. It was just understood if we were running a counter, if we were running a wedge, so forth. The wingback knew it was his assignment to go into motion. But since I installed some of Coach Strauss's stuff, their spread, it seemed in order at the youth level again to be consistent to help the kids understand what they're doing, I felt it was appropriate to actually begin calling out the jet motion even from our T series formation, again just to make the kids understand, yeah, that's my H jet or that's my Z jet and I go in motion. And oh, something else, Coach, to piggyback on you, something you said. Down at the Mighty Mite level, you're doing more teaching than you are coaching. I'm sure I'm not the first guy to say that, but you don't start coaching till you get probably Pee-wee. And so you've got to be patient with these kids and give them an opportunity. You've got to simplify your drills. You've got to break it down, especially single wing. You've got to break it down so that these kids pick up, understand what you need them to do and when. The way we run vendor football, the kids don't do things just because Coach Keith or Coach PJ says it. They understand why they're supposed to do it, so they can formulate what their assignment is in their mind and then go to try and execute it deliberately and confidently. Full disclosure on this slide, my lovely wife, who is a football fan and also in accounting, suggested that I put this slide together to convey this to you gentlemen. It's our win percentages versus our number of formations. And as you can see here, our first season, and all the way, our first 3 seasons, we were strictly single wing. And that first year, 8-3, had a great year. It was new, nobody had seen it. So we beat up on some teams that had taken advantage of me the year before. Next 2 seasons, a little bit of a transition. We had some injuries, some other issues. That 03 season, I'd actually dropped down to Mighty Mite, so the kids had to go through a bit of a learning curve while I did, because I'd just come down from the junior midget level cycling back through, so it was a little bit of a personal challenge scaling down what I'd been doing here so that their little minds could, as I shared with you, could get it. Then in the 04-05 seasons, we began adding Beast. Again, a nice addition to what we were doing. We're running the ball constantly, maybe passing 10-15% of the time. We moved up to Pee Wee, and I began looking for a spread that I could run, something to augment our single wing, because now I'm in the playoffs regularly. We're a perennial playoff team, and the better coaches are starting to diagnose what we're doing. And so my line coach and even my defensive coordinator is a good friend of mine. Is like, Coach, you got to come up with a little bit of a different wrinkle. So we began looking for a spread. And those of you who know Gary Kanyas, he's Coach GC on the Delphi forums. He'd been after me for 2 years. He was chasing me this 06-07 year to run Coach Strauss's rocker or his SC series. And I was like, okay. Well, finally this year I installed it, and it was a natural complement for the T series. So as you guys get up and start getting into the upper level, if you're going to run T series, find yourself a good spread complement to it. You can see it actually, we actually started running more spread than we did Beast even. And in the last 2 games of the season, we actually dabbled just a little bit with some direct snap double wing, just enough to, again, just a bit of a wrinkle to try to piss off the opposing defensive coordinator, give him something else to think about. These Avengers, If there's one thing that I wanted done, those guys thinking by the end of the season was, they don't know which way I'm coming at them. So, and I think we managed to succeed at that point, at that mission a little bit. Our mesh point, as I said, is directly behind our 2 and our 3 back. The 3 back takes a hard step directly behind the 2 back. The 4 back comes in motion. 3 back at the snap of the ball steps back here, then either goes trap off this side or counters back inside here. Of course, the 1 back is either leading one way or the other. The 2 back can either bootleg out this direction or keep it for a sweep this side, depending on what play we have called here. Motion here, ball is snapped, step back and through. Off tackle here or out this direction here. The 3 back, his foot is actually, his toe is lined up even with the heel of our 2 back, so that when he makes his step back, those of you who know me know I'm a big fan of Mark Bliss's stuff from his time in Conclave Springs. And, you know, you've got these big high school kids who they can take one hard step back and disappear behind the 2 back, whereas our little guys, you know, they're taking maybe a step and a half, 2 steps in order to get back there and be fully concealed back behind the back in front of them. This is our blocking grid. We do a lot of work here in our 2 to 4 gap and conversely over in the 3 to 5 gap when we switch. We're wedging, love the wedge, quick leads, traps, counters, and anything outside here is a sweep. We stretch our 6 hole. Anything outside the 4 back is 6. And then when we go in our south formation, anything out the 4 back is a 7 hole. One of the challenges we did see this year when we went foot to foot, when we went with the 1 foot splits away from our foot to foot, our wedges weren't quite as successful as they had been in years past. That's something that my line coach and I are dedicated to work on, because we do like to wedge. It's even at that age group, it's really fun thing to see when the kid can break free, and again they're busy chasing all this motion back here. Meanwhile, the 1 back's going for 15 yards up the field.
Coach?
Yes.
Are you wedging on the guard?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. This information was provided to me from my line coach. I was very fortunate. He's been with me 4 years now. He had a stint as a head coach 2 seasons ago when his son wasn't able to make weight for him to stay with us. And I said, I emailed him Monday. I'm like, PJ, send me 2 or 3 words that I can, or sentences I can convey our blocking principles to the coaches here, so that I don't sound completely lost. And the next thing I know, he emails me back this nice dissertation. I'm like, it's great. Yeah, I got to cull it back a little bit. So thanks to PJ Tyler for this information. Our blocking principle is man on, man inside, and PJ feels that it's really one of the most basic and simplest techniques to teach to the young players. We experimented with God blocking. Matter of fact, ironically, the year that PJ stayed down with his son, we experimented with God blocking. The gentleman I had as the line coach there, he gave it a good shot, but for us personally, we didn't quite have the success that other folks have had running God. So PJ's a big believer in this, and here are some of the principles he likes to go with, make sure everybody understands. Obviously the lineman, in a man-on situation, he needs to know where the ball is going. His first step, he needs to step play side and ensure that they can hook the defensive player. And one of the things he likes to describe to the kids, kind of a good visual here, is, hey, you're taking a picture of the running back with your rear end. Make sure you got a good frame, that camera framed up on that back when you're making your block, so that we get a good picture. So it's a little graphic, but the kids chuckle when they hear it, so it seems to work for them. Man inside, this usually ends up as a down block. Once again, the players need to know where the ball is going. PJ has them target the upfield shoulder pad of the opposing defensive lineman, and so that the kids are usually coming off the ball either at an angle or almost flat in order to make that block. And we're not looking to get the defensive line, we're not looking to get him 5 yards up the field, but we are looking to get him out of the hole. And again, he feels that this is a great, easy block for the kids to pick up and execute at the youth level.
Is that the order you go in? The rule is man on first, then man inside?
Man on, man inside, yep. He has done a fabulous job teaching the kids to pick up their blitzing backers. They have line calls among themselves. It's on, bingo, a couple of others. And I really wish he could have come with me today, but he's a small businessman and he got to pay the bills, so he wasn't able to be here. But when he joined my staff when we were at the junior peewee level, and once he bought into the single wing and told me some of the principles he wanted to instill, I had to ask him, are you sure that you can break this down and teach this to these kids? I don't want to overwhelm them. Yeah, coach, we can do this, we can do this. And sure enough, years later, we're rocking and rolling, and the kids understand it, and they're hitting hard and opening up big holes. I always make it a point, once we begin to break the teams down and we select our rotation of, say, 7 or 8 running backs, I always like to tell them, look, my grandmama can look like a star in this offense. So you need to give props constantly to your offensive linemen, because they are the engine that runs the offense. And once we begin to split the team down after preconditioning, during one of the water breaks, I'll tell the kids as we're giving assignments out, I'm like, look, I'm looking for a few good men, a few good players to be my offensive linemen. When this country goes to war, first people the president sends in are the Marines. I need 5 Marines. I need 5 Marines to run my offensive line, and I really always try to heap praise upon my offensive linemen. Got some backfield video here. This will give you a chance to see what the basic motion is. First is our alignment. 4 back here, 1 back. Behind him is our 3 back, or 2 back.
And the 1 back's always
turned in.
Yes.
turned?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. This young man who's my son, who normally plays 3 back, is a little out of position here. The 4 back should be lined up even. Again, 1 and 1 from the power tackle should be even with the 1 back here. And again, if you notice the foot position between the 2 and the 3 back, so he can take his 1 hard step back here and then come either side of the ball.
And the lineman on the B back is right behind the guard, or in the A gap?
He's splitting his leg.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's splitting his leg. Simple, basic wedge action here. There's our counter. You get to the mesh point, come back hard, the ball this way. Decide if you let it.
So it's the 2 back hitting the 2 hole. What's the 3rd number then?
First number is who's getting the snap. Second, who's carrying the ball. And then the 3rd is which hole he's hitting.
Okay, Coach, when he gets in the 3-point stance, is that what you're doing, or is he just messing that up? He actually goes
The
to
wing back?
Yeah.
That is correct. He's going down on purpose. And so what we're doing is, once the plays begin, he starts the signals. And everybody goes down in their 3-point stance. The wing back counts 1001 to himself and then begins his motion.
So he can actually get in a 3-point stance and get back out.
That's correct.
That's
So,
legal.
Yeah, that's why he does a 1001 count to himself, so that he's not lifting his hand up while some slowpoke is maybe he's not paying attention. Oh, I got to get down. Somebody on the interior line is still moving down. We avoid the illegal shift of the motion penalty on it. So he gives himself a 1001 call. Then he goes in motion. We work constantly on glad you brought that question up. We work constantly on our backfield motion. You know, we get that group, that stable of 7 or 8 backs. You know, let's say let's say this year we've got 7 kids that we're running as running backs. Somebody is playing 2 different positions, and so the kids have to learn each other's timing. And so we're drilling constantly. We go defensive practice on Tuesday nights, offensive practice on Thursday nights. And so Thursday nights, after we're done with our initial back skills, we start doing our timing. We run all our plays that we want to run for the upcoming week. We run them dry and we work the time. So there are, you know, we usually have two backs every year. And so we want him to know what each wing back is capable of doing as far as speed coming off the ball. This is just a straight student body, right? We're looking for a good block from the wide receiver down here, trying to keep either the defensive tackle or defensive end from penetrating early and blowing up the play. So we are pulling a guard with this group.
Now, you telling those kids to go get somebody, or do you want them just setting
They're
up
area
on the line?
blocking. They're area blocking. The wing back, since he's closest in, if you know, and sometimes we've got it. This last year, as a matter of fact, we had a young man at the wide receiver who was small in stature, not unlike the young man that you were speaking of, your number, the 61-pound kid. So sometimes when we're running that sweep, we have to have the wing back stay there and help. Help that, because you know the kid's giving it his best, but you know you got a kid who's just short of my height, and he's gonna shove him aside and stuff. So sometimes we have to have the wing back stay and help out, because it's vital that we can't have our pulling guard caught up in this flow right here.
Your area block is first man in your area.
First man you see. That's where you're heading, and anybody who shows up there is who you're getting.
Okay, your 3-back, you want them directly behind your 2-back, so
Yeah,
you can't see them from the linebacker
Right.
position.
exactly.
And that blocking back gets a snap sometimes.
Yes, he does.
Does that center hit the ball against his right leg? At an angle that snap?
It's that is one of the subtleties that we work on in practice. There's 2 things. First is not bouncing it off of his leg, and second is not pointing it, because that's a tell. So we have to make sure our centers understand. You can't do that. You've got to execute that snap.
Is your 2-back always going opposite your 3-backs? I noticed, you know, when the 2-backs dive in right side, when the 3-backs going left, and when last play when the 3-back went left and 2-back bootleg, does he also sweep to the right or anything, or?
Yes, actually, in the video clips you'll see. Let me see here. Before I run off at the mouth here.
I'm just wondering.
99% of the time that is true. He's going opposite of the 3-back.
Okay.
The only time where that might be is on the bootleg. I'll check in the video clip here. That's a good question. I should know that. I'm sorry.
How deep are those backs?
We're running about, the deepest one is about 3 yards deep. We're up pretty good. Although when we run our spread, we drop them back some. Talk a little bit about each individual running back now, as far as their playing assignments. Our blocking back, just like any other single wing team, we're looking for a kid who's a power runner, who loves to hit, who can get me nasty yardage here inside on the interior for our wedges. And we also have what we call our wedge buck, which is based off of the motion for a buck lateral, in that the ball will come to the three back, he'll pivot his back to the line of scrimmage, take the ball, and then belly out weak side. And he'll execute a fake out this direction here. We actually haven't run that. We didn't run it at all this last year, but when we were at the junior Pee Wee level, and a couple times at Pee Wee, you hit that once or twice in a game, and just another something to keep the defense guessing where the ball is going is a good play for us. And again, this was again one of those situations where in years past that Z-jet was understood by the four back. So now we actually call it out. Here's a clip, several clips of our one backs in action. Here's some wedges and some buck laterals. We're in our south formation. There's our wide receiver. Can't see the wing back here. He's down in his stance, and you've got our one back, three back, and our two back. And again, keep in mind, we're off with a 1 foot split as opposed to our foot to foot. If one of you gentlemen who run foot to foot splits can talk about the suggestion for having more success with a wedge out of this scenario, I'd definitely like to hear a recommendation. Buck lateral.
Nice play.
It's another buck lateral. Our two back. We're looking for a kid who's more of a tailback than a straight up quarterback. We'll once we establish who those two kids are going to be on rotation, we'll do the drills that we need to help them develop a bit of a throwing game. We're throwing, last year and this year we'll probably throw maybe 30% of the time now. The boys are getting older, the defenses, the linebackers are starting to understand what they're needing to be as far need to do as far as being opposing defenders. So we're upping the number of passes that we do in each game. We're upping that slightly. And here are the lane assignments for the two back. We've got our bootleg, we've got a quick lead, counter back into the line, and we actually have two types of sweeps that we can execute. One you've seen already, which is just our kind of our student body right, and then we also have one where he'll execute his fake through the mesh point, and then what we call a dash, essentially. After he executes the fake, and he'll keep it out this direction here. In years past, this play was one of our most successful ones. This counter back into the line of scrimmage. Defenses were, I'd say we'd score every third or fourth time we ran this play. And so we racked up lots of good yardage on it. But again, as we've gotten older and we see coaches who are more sophisticated and who are studying us on game film, last year was the first time we didn't score a single time on that play. We got decent yardage on it, but guys were looking for it because it become kind of our signature play. This is the bootleg action. This goes back to your question earlier. He's stepping back hard here and then countering back to the line of scrimmage and then bootlegging out this way. This is our standard sweep. This set of clips will show you, actually, this is a 5-set, and I think he hits we hit all the running lanes in this set of clips here, so you have a chance to see everything. This first one is a 227 sweep.
And the north is, he's lying, is strong side to the right, south
Correct.
is the opposite side. Got it.
This is the bootleg. This is a counter. This is a quick lead. Now, I put the quick lead in midway through the season 2 years ago, and that actually supplanted the counter as being one of our money plays. This is just a straight power. It was designed, it should have been an off-tackle power, but that young man's very talented. He's been running our offense for a lot of years. He sees the seam, he'll hit it. And this is that other sweep that we can run. We really actually came to depend on the quick lead because, like I said, we had some of the guys who'd seen us run a few years and we're running to the power side, and now we've got this quick lead back to the weak side. And a few coaches are shifting over to the unbalanced. Those who know me, they shift over to the unbalanced, and then I'm coming back weak side, and we're scoring lots of points on it there. Our 3-back has to be our most durable back. He's running a lot of. He should be as likely to bust one for a 60-yard touchdown as he is to get me a first down on a 2-yard wedge. So he's definitely got to have speed, power, and durability. And he has, as you can see here, the most varied of all the possible running lanes that we have. He's running an off-tackle power here. He's got his counter back into the line here. We're running a dive or a trap back this way, depending on the back motion. And then also the quick lead with him, as well as just your basic wedge. Wedge here. Quick lead here. Straight power here. First one, the wedge. First couple of wedges. This is a trap, or excuse me, a dive. This is out of our spread, but I wanted to put this in because this is one of my favorite plays of the season here. And I'll actually touch a little bit later on what we do as far as our spread augmentation. Watch our one back here as he introduces himself to this young man. We're sweeping with our 3-back, and our 2-back is actually going to be leading around the corner this way as well. But watch the block he lays and him as well here. I don't know about any of you other youth coaches, but it seems to me some of the football moms seem to enjoy the contact once they learn the game and understand what's going on. Some of the loudest cheers for cracks like that come from the moms. And it just tickles me every year because the dads are just kind of like, oh my goodness, the moms are jumping up and down. Yeah, kill that boy, little Johnny. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our 4-back. Our 4-back is usually just a good speed kid. we're looking for someone who has good hands or has the potential to be a good receiver, because he is playing in that slot here, and we will throw to him. But in many years, as I've said before, this kid tends to be this guy in waiting. Maybe he didn't quite have the maturity to run the offense because, for lack of a better word, our two-back is our quarterback. He's the one who's calling in the signals. He's the one organizing the huddle and so forth, calling the plays. So maybe he's not quite as shifty. Maybe he's not quite as mature. Not have necessarily leadership skills, but he's got raw speed, and we do want to get the ball in the hands of a good athlete that way. Again, here's our quick lead. Snap to the three-back, quick step this way, come back underneath, and if we can hit the end, cut it up inside, and then we're off to the races. You know, we're usually setting this up by running our powers to the three-back. Once they're seeing that, we get the defense flowing. Every time the ball's coming to them, we'll come back underneath with this guy. And then our 247 jet sweep, we'll put them in motion, just execute our pivot at our mesh point here, three-back steps through, and then we catch the defense again, biting on this, and bring them outside. And here's some clips.
Coach, what's your snap ball?
We're running ready, set, hit, hit, or whether we're on one or two.
Do you snap on ready sometimes?
Yes, we do. If we're going with a power, where there is no motion, we'll go on ready. Or excuse me, not on ready, on set. We'll go on set. I apologize.
Like in a spread or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not on ready. Let's talk real briefly about the passing game that we do have. In years past, I've gone with set plays for our receivers. This year, my receiver coach and I talked, and I was thinking, you know what? Let's try calling out individual pass patterns based upon what we're seeing. You know, if they've got a minimum play player over here at a corner, let's go take advantage of that kid. I liked it a little better than having set pass plays. Not to say one way or the other is better. I think it seems to work a little bit better for us. Sometimes we'll direct him whether he's taking just a straight drop back or if he's rolling. In this case, we're running an X hook, Y post Z flat, and that's the call he'll make. 255 is the standard for passing. So whether we're running a north 255 here or a north 355, we'll throw with either back. Again, not to allow the opposing defense to say, well, that guy's their quarterback, and so he's going to throw every time. We'll throw with either one of these guys. Let's talk about that. What we do to complement our T series. As I mentioned, we're running Coach Strauss's SC and his rocker series, and God bless Gary Kanye, as he kept telling me, Coach, you've got to run this, you've got to run this. It's a natural fit for you guys. And essentially what you have here is it's our south formation. We got a receiver here, our Z or four back here, is our south formation with our power tackle having been replaced by another wide receiver, and our one back jumps out here as an H back here. We use the same jet motion. It's easy to install if you're running the T series. It's, like I said, same motion. It spreads out the defense and allows us, as I said, like to tell our kids, it allows us to get them in space. So when we're running our sweeps with either one of these guys who are shifty and have good maneuverability, I try to tell these guys, look, just give them a yard, give them 6 inches to get out here to anything that will allow one of these two kids to get out here in space and go one-on-one with that corner. We'll take that then. Even if we're not going to get a broken, 60-yard touchdown, I guarantee you we're gonna pick up some good yardage from it. This is what we call our omega formation. Yes, he is covered, and we do not throw to him. That was a conscious decision on my part. Again, rather than shuffling linemen in and out, what I'll do is, if I decided we're gonna go spread, I wanted to be able to not have to worry about, well, is the power tackle in right now, and I can shift back to go to my, shift back to our T-series formation. It is a conscious decision that I make, you know what, I'm gonna run the spread for probably 2 or 3 plays, and then we're gonna switch back. So he knows he's covered, he knows he's a lineman, and he's not gonna have the ball thrown to him here. And this is our invert formation. Again, essentially, it's our south formation less the power tackle, and he's playing his normal tight end position here, and the one back is just split out at this location over here.
Is Wise still standing up there?
The Y?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't he normally the nasty split?
Yeah,
back?
yes, that's correct. Yeah, he's right here, and his split is, he's actually going with a 1-foot split here. He's not doing nasty.
But is he standing up or just standing?
No, he's in a 3-point stance.
Okay.
He's in a 3-point stance. And with regards to the motion, same thing. And then step back and then through here. And we're either running a spin dive inside here, or we're gonna bootleg or sweep out in this direction. Here's something that we do, and I can't be the only person in the world doing this, so I'm not gonna take any kind of credit for this being some kind of innovation thing. You know, this is the 3 things that we would do with a 336 sweep. We're either gonna go with the jet sweep and bring this kid around as an extra blocker, and the H-back knows that he has to crack on the defensive end in order to, again, allow us to get outside. Or we're gonna go with what we call an H-crack, in that these guys will take a little bit wider than normal split, and he'll come in motion 2 or 3 steps, he'll call for the ball, and he will do a crack, a deliberate crack on this guy right here. And then occasionally, we'll go with an H-jet and put him in motion and let him go around, and we will sweep back to the toward the side that he came from. It's a deliberate decision, and the main reasons that I do this, first of all, is because it's the opposite of what I would normally do. I tend to be very conservative in my play calling. It's just my nature, so I rely on my assistant offensive coordinator and my receivers coach to prod me a little bit, to help me think outside the box. So we do that primarily because, you know, it's what I would not normally do. It keeps the defensive ends nervous. This kid's coming in motion. Is he going to crack me? Is he actually going to go be a lead blocker? Is he going to get the ball and run a sweep? And it also, just to piss off the opposing defensive coordinators, because now their defensive ends are wondering what's going on. He's more worried about not getting his head knocked off than he is about trying to stop the ball.
The hunters turn hunted.
I'm sorry?
I like to say we turn the hunter into the hunted.
Exactly. That's very appropriate. What I have here is the top 12 plays that I submitted to John Mateer for the intro disc that he did. You're going to see everything from our T-series to some of our spread and a little bit of our beast, and just a smattering of double wing. So to give you the full range of what we do.
too, though.
Yeah.
Where do you find those kids?
Recruit.
East.
You coach them.
Yeah. it's in the playbook.
Spencer is that? That's the thing about the singling that I've learned this year, is people will watch and they'll think the kids are bigger, playing bigger than the level that they actually are. You know, it's just, they're like, we have these 10, 11, 12 years, like now they're only 8, 9.
I like that, definitely.
I like that.
You call that buck what, coach?
That's quick pitch.
Or quick pitch?
Yeah, the 237 quick pitch is eject.
And these kids, you've had majority of them for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
so that's what you can build to.
These kids are 12, 11, 12.
Bouncing from city to city, you might be able to get some kids. Gold chaser.
Merc.
That's all 5 right here.
Level 3 for Lakewood.
That's one where we actually went on set.
Tell me stop looking at me.
Yeah. He was kicking himself after that. Now, number 24, 42, and 62 are all going on to high school next year. 24 and 42, delightful kids, and I'm going to miss them dearly. You know, they've given an appendage for me, and I wish them well. I certainly think, regardless of the sport that either one of them gets into, it's possible that they could, maybe you'll have a chance to hear from them when they get to college, because they're both extremely talented athletes. So many styles and so little time. The most frustrating thing about coming to this and some of the other single wing events is you see what everybody else is doing, and I just wish, God, if I just had more time, I'd love to try that. God, I wish I could do some of this or some of that. As I like to say, there's as many styles of single wing as there are grains of sand on a beach. And the wonderful thing about the community is everybody is willing to share. And that's, you just don't find that in any other offensive style. So I was very fortunate when I found a single wing, and I've had a chance to grow personally as a coach, thanks to some of the kind contributions of some of you gentlemen and some of the guys back east. So, you know, I'm not doing anything any different than what anybody else is doing, and probably doing a lot better than me. I continue to try to be a student of the offense and learn and convey that to my players and my assistant coaches. Thanks again for your time, Bruce. Thank you for the opportunity to let me come here and speak. Here's my contact information. We have a team website. There's my email, my home and cell phone number. Willing to trade films and have conversations anytime with anybody. So, any questions? Yes, Coach.
Kind of a 3-part question here, but all along the same vein here. Different schools of thought, going strong right all the time, flipping the line. The nose, foot-to-foot splits, the 1-foot splits, depth of the backs, get them closer so you can't see the snap, keep them deeper for spacing. So in those 3 areas, you do more of the the splits, the deeper backs, and you flip your line. Just can you kind of give me your Reader's Digest version of what you feel the benefits and the upside and downside of doing it your way versus the other way? I mean, there's trade-offs in anything, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
what was the reason that caused you to want to?
Not to presume.
Yeah,
to
so I'm not
say-
saying one's right or wrong,
Right.
but just in your mind, why did you decide to go with the little deeper backs? Why do you flip the line? Why did you go with the 1-foot splits?
Let's start with the backfield, because I have had them back, and I've had them up. I actually started with them back for probably the first 3 or 4 years. I was pretty deep, and then I went back and reviewed some of the videos that I traded with the coach, and I noticed how close even the high school players were. And I'd say probably about 4 years ago, we decided to actually come up closer with it. I think the driving force there was the snap that we were using, especially when we went after the national symposium that was here a couple of years ago. I was talking to Doc Ward, and he was showing us the flip snap. So that kind of sealed it with us for our base T series. We are up closer. Even now, last year we went back with the spiral snap. We're up closer for our T series base formation, but we'll drop back an extra yard when we go into our split. The line, the foot-to-foot split, that was just because it seemed that's what the preponderance of everybody else was doing, was running foot-to-foot. And again, PJ came to me this last year and said, hey coach, the kids are a little bit bigger. Let's give this a try with a 1-foot split. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I have immense respect for PJ, and I'm like, well, coach, if you can make this work, I'll be fine with it. And the only area that we seemed to be deficient in, again, was our wedge blocking. He drilled on it, but I'm definitely going to look to see if there's something that we need to do to make that work a little bit better if we're going to continue to be in the foot-to-foot split. Certainly, I don't want to come in, a 1-foot split. I don't want to come in foot-to-foot just for wedging because it's an obvious tell. So we're going to have to learn a little bit and figure out what we can do in that motion. I'm sorry, what was your other?
Flipping the line, did you?
Flipping line? I think, if anything, that's probably just a leftover vestige from my years as a high school player more than anything else. There is one thing that I did try to learn from Gary, was making sure that we call the bulk of our plays to our line of scrimmage. You know, so if we're running, well, not the bulk of the plays, but we're definitely having our unbalance toward our play side, toward our side of the field. Excuse me. So we flip a little less than we have in years past, and that was a nice thing. That was one of the advantages that quick lead to the 2 and the 3 back gave us, is when I wanted to run out to that side, I didn't have to flip. I could run a quick lead back that side. We had a little more success in that than we did with our wing back sweeps. We ran our wing back sweeps just enough to keep the defense honest and make sure that they respect what was going on at the mesh point. But really, that was it. A little left over from high school. The line split was my offensive coordinator, line coach's idea, and we had experimented with the position of the backs and a little deeper for spread, up in our normal formation for our T series. Yes, sir.
Coach, where are you putting your minimum play players?
That requires a 2-part answer. I'll see if I can distill it down. Usually we are working them as receivers, but you know, sometimes you got a kid who physically is not a receiver, and it's obvious. We have what we like to call our taxi squad, and that's usually 5 players, and those are kids who need a little more time to develop. And so during our special team time, you know, we'll warm up, special teams, team contact drill, then we go into our skill work. So during special teams, that 20-minute window, either myself or the defensive coordinator, we've got that group of 5 or 6 kids, and we're working them individually, tackling dummy, working on their stances, things like that to bring them up. I like to say that I will go to war with my 5 minimum players against your 5 minimum players any day of the week, because I won't be afraid to put my 5 in, because I will have done my due diligence to gain them up, to help them be where they need to be. And one of the most exciting times is, say you get into the 3rd game of the season, and suddenly, you know, you've got 5 kids over there, but suddenly little Billy's over there working with the special teams now. And the 4 who are left are kind of like, you know, he's kind of graduated, if you will. He's over here doing special teams work now. It's no big deal. He's not with us anymore. Me and the defensive coach are still working with these individuals. And then after that, usually the rest of the group kind of bucks up, and then suddenly, you know, 2 games later, we don't have a taxi squad anymore, and I'm rotating my kids in, and they're not the best, they're most gifted kids, but they know what they're supposed to do, and they will give me everything that they have, and I understand the limits that they have physically as a player, and I don't ask them to do anything more than what they can do, but I certainly expect everything that they do have to give me, and they know that.
So you put them on defense.
I will put them, not
Yeah.
necessarily. If I've got a slow, as far as a lineman type, yeah, I will put them in the interior, probably at a defensive tackle. Now, in our scheme, you know, when we're running an even front, you know, a 6-man front sometimes, or a 5-man front, an odd front, if that guard, that defensive guard is the more critical of the two for us. So if you're playing defensive tackle, we are kind of shielding you there. Maybe you haven't got the foot speed or the hand speed to get across and do what we need from the defensive guard position. And the kids understand that as well. So they appreciate when they get their shot at that defensive guard spot. Again, it's not anything, I hate coaches who, you know, as Pop Warner coaches, we have our minimum plays that we have to get in. I do not enjoy watching the other sideline say, well, we have to get these kids in. And I always tell my assistants, don't do that to a kid. You know, let us not be the ones who say, we have to get him in now in front of God and everybody. We know what's going on as a staff because we're watching our plays, and we try to be as subtle as we can about it, make sure he gets in and so forth, but we won't embarrass a kid. Because I'm sitting across the sideline and I'm watching, you know, looking at the time, and when the person who's doing my plays meets with their person at midfield and said, X, Y, and Z kids have to get in right now, whether we're on offense or defense, I'm sorry, we're attacking that kid. You know, and well, it's not my fault you didn't get you weren't more successful with your rotations, getting your players in. So I try not to be that coach. I'm going to abuse his players. Anything else? Thank you, gentlemen.